Hello, our friends, and welcome to another episode of Day in Sudoku. This will be for Déjà Vu Sudoku, Déjà Vu Sudoku. That may be when you solve a puzzle and you think you've seen it before, or at least the idea's in it before, and you don't know if it's about you don't know if it's about the author, or maybe don't even know which puzzles are the same. Sometimes it's the publishers play tricks on you, and we'll talk about some of those stories. This is not directly motivated to what we covered yesterday, but for sure, there are times a puzzle just repeats. It shouldn't have repeated, and that's a mistake. And the larger mistake is I think the New York Times puzzle still looks like it did about 20 years ago, and it's never been in the paper, and all sorts of things. If they're the place that the best game should be, the best Western designs as well as all the Japanese designs have been available for a long time. They're willing to spend a penny, at least a penny more than whatever they were negotiated with. So this is not about yesterday's news. It's not about, I don't think I've solved this grid, except I've watched like my friends' children play the New York Times Easy app a bit, and those 40 given puzzles look a lot like something not a lot of groups do, because people say there are too many givens there, but asymmetric 40 given puzzles, that could be a great easy. I don't know that those are great puzzles. I will sight unseen recommend this. This is the Christmas season if you're in the Sudoku solving scene from the Japanese setters organizing a Sudoku Grand Prix round. Do not think of this as if it's a competition, if that's what's concerning to you. I will not compete in this round. I don't compete in the Sudoku Grand Prix anymore. Not many of them are as interesting as I want them to be, and kind of like Pokemon, you've got to play them all to be credibly sort of in the rankings. So I'm just, after the time finishes, which is I think next Friday or Saturday, I will download this round so I don't get like a zero score somehow, if that's how it still works, and print this and solve them myself. And we'll sort of show examples here, but there are 5 classics, there are a reasonable number of variants. The hardest puzzle looks to be a skyscrapers Sudoku, and skyscrapers is my favorite from a SudokuCon story. Way to separate the Sudoku and the cryptic Sudoku communities, because in Sudoku there's a very specific logical step called a skyscraper. It is not at all what a skyscrapers Sudoku is, but I remember seeing when Timberlake, who is a great streamer, was talking at SudokuCon in Boston. Here we're going to talk about skyscrapers. And then everyone is looking around because they didn't see outside clues. They're like, "What's going on? What's going on?" It's like, yeah, this is English French. Like they don't get it. This is U.S. Japan. Like there's a connection to make here, and it will come in the future. And so please try this out. And since we're talking about Japanese authors, this is where I want to start today's conversation about Déjà Vu Sudoku. There's a very amazing email I got roughly 9 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, from my favorite Western designer of Nickley style puzzles, who's also a dear part of the Grandmaster Puzzles community. Wherever he's had challenges in his life for other things or reasons people have said we should cancel this person, we've not done so, but we also recognize that we have a better connection into people's wellness and thoughts and emotions and other things. And so we're not reactive in decision making, because even me, as like, I've done some pretty cancelable things when I was like psychotic and filming a YouTube video and released it. So like, I hope I have some of your forgiveness, even though we lost a lot of audience at the time, for just me having a health crisis. And that's very distinct from the spirit of why someone does things in their life. If they're generally a good person and they just don't know how to interact with the world because of other reasons, that's very different from saying they're malicious or they're a liar and they can't be trusted with things. So anyway, what we have here is a curious conundrum from Nickley, and we don't know if I don't think they're malicious. I don't think their authors are malicious, but this happened. Within the span of 2 books published in their Gekakara Sudoku series, which is a book series I also buy, but I didn't have these issues at the time, there were 3 puzzles that, to this amazing Sudoku grandmaster on our team, he's not maybe known for Sudoku, like he identified they felt like puzzles he solved before, or he actually wrote to me, I think they're the same. How can you help with like understanding this? And he wasn't sort of deeply into Sudoku.com or other communities. He didn't understand where canonicalization of grids and then comparison across either the grids or solutions in different ways can still show you the similarities of the puzzles. For sure, the logical steps taken to solve the puzzles can be near to or absolutely identical, even if the grids don't canonicalize the same way to the same solution. But this was something he asked about. And curiously, 2 of these 3 are from the same author. And that's what makes this story even more interesting, that there were only 2. There were 3 of these. And so let me tell you first the result of the canonicalization. So, and again, like, it doesn't mean that like sometimes the things are here and that let's just say they always look like this. And this probably isn't the right way to show it. I just like showing it this way. 2 of them canonicalize to the exact same values. So they are for sure identical puzzles with identical solutions. The third, instead of, I think, a 4-5 in the canonicalization in 2 of the sets in the same box, has a 5-4 there. And this only influences the pattern of the solution in 4 other cells. So effectively 4-5, 5-4, 4-5 versus 5-4, 4-5, 4-4. 5-4, 4-5, 5-4. Yeah, I got it. It's a deadly pattern, but only in a small set of the cells, and it's also unique if you do it. So it solves to a different solution, but because of when and how those numbers propagate vertically in the puzzle, it would solve identical to you if you replace those at the vertical moment with like cat and dog or pink and blue, and only looking this way do you propagate 4, 5. And so all three, in my mind, are identical, which means did the author even know that they had duplicated themselves when the puzzles are so similar in how they solve? Did Niccoli across 3 books, so 2 of these then also appeared in the same book during the same editorial time with the same 18 given theme, did they recognize? Like, there's a lot I can't answer, but at some stage, I would love to know more about the situation of Déjà Vu Sudoku with my favorite, one of my favorite, but for sure for Sudoku, my favorite Sudoku publisher in Japan. That's a kind of trick answer because you can't be a Sudoku publisher in Japan if you're not Niccoli. But they're again the innovators of the style for sure. They are the story point. Howard Garn's Niccoli, like it's Howard Garn's Niccoli, other followers is the story here. They have done this, and that's to say human curated puzzles can make errors, deliberately or not, I don't know. Human publishing steps can make errors, deliberately or not, I don't know. This is still a fascinating story to me, and I love seeing it. Hopefully you get some interest from just knowing that anecdote, even though I can't share those puzzles. They are in books. I don't have a relationship yet where I can break their copyright to show you instances of those grids, and I don't want to make an equivalently looking puzzle because I'm then very much given the puzzle, which was printed 3 times, but it's like still one of those 3 at least is a copyrightable thing. Maybe all of them as a set are. Here's a place I struggled about 6 months ago while I was also struggling with mental health crisis, and hopefully people don't. If I repost these puzzles, but with better editing and without the mental health things, hopefully you'll enjoy the 12 Days of Sudoku this Christmas season. The Japanese sort of get this Grand Prix round is their Christmas giving season. I want to have December 25th through January 6th or so to sort of do this. This is a 17 given puzzle on the right, and I would give it a C- grade question mark for is it enough to be an author. Here's how I made this puzzle. Not constructed. Here's how I made this puzzle. There are 49,152, I think. I have to remember. It's like abide is the anagram. It's definitely 49. Yeah, 49,152. 17 given puzzles. They've all been computed now. There's no more to find. If I said there was another 17 given puzzle, that would be probably as audacious as me saying there was a 16 given puzzle. I said there was a 16 given puzzle, but my image was a 17 given puzzle. I was testing if fast think versus slow think, for instance, with something like this was going to get people to actually count versus say, Thomas, are you insane? And everyone just says, Thomas, you're insane. Like there's so many bots saying there are 16 given Sudoku, like people just, they give up. They don't want, there's no wonder or no Christmas in people's thoughts. But I looked through about 50 of the, I looked at 1% of the potential puzzles in space. And I found one that was so good compared to the rest. It was for sure my favorite. So this is in the top 2% of all. Is that right? Did I do 50? Sorry, I did 0.1%. No, I've done almost nothing. So this is my top, my top of a small range, but this could only be like 2% good. This has a very unique property in the naked singles and in the hidden signals that itself is not unique across the lucky set, across all the 17s, but it's unique in that this was the first one I found that did it for both. So you had to do a hidden thing and also at the same time a naked thing, and also they were separate, but then they finally worked together. And the famous Christmas miracle that got most people worried about me is a way I changed one of the numbers or could have removed one of the numbers. So I kept like the naked path and not the hidden path. But it still was showing some of the traits of like, if you want a just 5 cell Sudoku and you can edit the grid so that it specifically does it. Let me show you what this puzzle does if you don't know it yet. This cell is a naked single 5. This cell is then a naked single 4, only made possible because it's being a 5. This cell is now a naked single 3, only possible because of this 4. This cell is now a naked single 2, only possible because of this 3. And this is finally naked single 1, and that row is entered. That is the most compelling naked single trail you could put into a puzzle, and you can find it if you look in 17 givens just for how they get started. Because you need a lot of givens fast, or you're not going to have a solution at the end. Here's another interesting property in this puzzle. There are hidden singles, so 1, 1, 1. You can put a 1 here, which means there's this hidden single 1 exactly there, exactly there, exactly there, exactly there, exactly there. You come back, you finish exactly there. All the 1s are in the grid. Now, there's a 2, there's a 2. We just put in the 1 here, so this is a 2. We put a 1 there, that's a 2. The 1s and the 2s also are number bursts. Starting at the digit 1, you get them all. Starting at the digit 2, you get them all, you get stuck. Until you do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in naked singles. So, like, I was impressed by this design. I still call Lucky 17 a special find, but I looked at 50. I looked at 0.1% of the 17 given puzzles. And I think a computer could look through some of them, skim the top, and I can make the best book of 117 givens by just doing reorganization of the numbers and the shapes a bit. Is that authorship? I don't know. Like, these are the kinds of questions I ask, and I at least found some thought partners at SudokuCon for them. So we put up a poll, yes, no, I would like to play too. Can you send me the link, please? I don't know the answer here. I think there's something, though, to share that's pretty important. And so that's Déjà Vu Sudoku. I want to give you a teaser for tomorrow. I think every day I've said I'm just going to solve this puzzle again. I think a lot of people, and the most impressive one was probably not Jeff in our Discord. Not Jeff, whose name probably is Jeff, because the best way to know it's not Jeff is to say it's not Jeff, and then you trust like the not Jeff. Anyway, I know his name actually, and it isn't not Jeff. It's not important. He went through and recognized a trait. This is an image that we provided, the GM Puzzles team provided for this puzzle to help. But he said these grids looked highly similar. He then mapped patterns across the grids to say they are similar. The only thing that varies the Snyder cut from 2 days ago, from the Shit Hits a Fan puzzle from yesterday, is the number of givens. Let me do this live, actually. I could go to the next slide, but the next slide gives away too much. Let's say for the last some number of years of my time constructing, all you have ever seen is my final product. And you say, how the heck does he make that Sudoku that's got 8 X-wings, 4 that matter, it's got this weird thing, eventually like they collide and do this stuff, and it's like, how do you make that? Like, well, obviously I placed the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4 first, and then I had like 23 more numbers to go, and I tried to place some stuff in the middle, and on the left, and on the right, and on the top. It's like, no, like, I showed for the first time a puzzle I labeled as the Snyder Cut. This is my author copy that's not meant for public consumption. I made the puzzle on the right by making the puzzle on the left first, by using far too many numbers, but with a controlled thought space of where I was trying to get a specific thing to happen. With a trick, I don't think, this already is a whole new thing. The trick is, I left myself paired givens. This is exactly a 4-9 cell, and it can't be different because I'm never going to specify these two. All the rest of these numbers can move around, at least if they're in concert with these 7 numbers. None of these matter. If you remove all these, then anything here and anything here will magically work. Maybe not entirely, but like conceptually, there's a lot of useless stuff here. But all the logic is saying, I've got a pretty light space. I want to get some communication here and here. There's a 6-9, there's a 6-9. The 6-9 is forced by blah, 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 blah. 6-9, I've got 6-9. What do I do next? Well, now I have 5 7s that always been X-wings. Let's move them both to the bottom. That now collides with the 6-9. That's going to be the tension. How do I make it pay off? Like the grid is easier to make if you have enough experience solving. By putting in too much, make the largest puzzle possible that keeps your step, and then you have a million options to come down. That's far easier than I'm like halfway through this puzzle. I'm still seeing if there are any options left, and I hope some of them don't just use singles. I've constructed that way, and for certain puzzles still construct that way, coming up only. But build a lot and subtract is a very different design for Sudoku that you've never heard about before, and I will continue talking about for like the next 14 years, but for sure I'm going to talk about through the rest of this week, because you've only seen my audience copy Sudokus for a long time, and for at least the last year, which is when I got back into constructing puzzles because I had a professional contract to do so. I've been doing Snyder Cut-like puzzles with extra filler, but the extra filler is how I make the right story, and then we have an editor/director take the steps to make that story be the thing you put into the theater. If you need that analogy, if you care about the Justice League, we've had enough metaphors of different comic heroes, it doesn't matter. This is a very important thing, and I'm massively impressed that, again, not Jeff, got 4 paper clips by saying, I don't need to solve the puzzle, this is going on in it. And there's a curious trait about the major newspaper edition, which is it actually doesn't look like this, but its solution is the same as this. And so is it more of an authored puzzle versus this, or both of them plagiarism of myself? I do not know. I don't know that I care, because I'm not counting it as another puzzle in my series, but Dr. Sudoku got 2 in this last day because I think it's an important enough idea. Today we have the same structure for what we had yesterday. I'm not necessarily going to be doing more subtraction in this, but this is a style of grid not just for subtracting to make bigger puzzles. I just want to sometimes give people smaller puzzles, because this can be a Sudoku you can solve in like a minute. I don't know that you're going to solve this one in a minute. I make them still a little bit tricky. But this is now what I want to have eventually described as a Snyder Sudoku method. Maybe someone else has it. Maybe someone else is doing it. I've never heard about it. I've never seen puzzles that look like people know how to do it. This is a thing I constructed myself to really make Sudoku in a new and important way. And this concept still works in other puzzle styles too, but we can't talk about all the things we could do with all the things let me tell my story in the style I want to tell the story in, because there's a lot we can still learn here. And that's where I'm going to leave just with this last note about, again, our Prove Your Intelligence step. I remember all these prompts through the weeks. Eventually someone will claim the results by doing them. You can like, you can comment, you can subscribe, you can solve, you can construct. You can send us your favorite haiku on Sudoku. I know mine. At least I know some of the ones I've made. I don't know if you have a favorite Sudoku haiku. You could get a ChatGPT to try. You could write it yourself, ask a friend, talk to someone in Japan. You're also able, yesterday we asked about your favorite story of Erasure. We will also accept your favorite song by Erasure today. We hope that you continue watching the series. Please take a chance on me, take a chance on us. We're really doing a great job here. And over the next months, you're going to see how far we've opened the doors of Sudoku. We just need people to follow. That starts by listening and contributing. And whatever you can do on this list is an awesome step. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again soon.